All right, what's going on, everybody? Today, I'm joined by James from Nimblo, a guy who's gone from building systems for massive organizations to helping local companies slash costs speed up process and stop wasting time on things that should be automated. He's worked on everything from healthcare systems to video games, and now he's bringing that experience to businesses that need practical, no BS solutions. James, great to have you on. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And just for everyone that hasn't met you yet or hasn't heard of you, what's the short version of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, short version of who I am is I am a over 20-year tech veteran. Like you said, I've been a lot of big companies doing everything from the PlayStation Network to United Healthcare Systems, etc. Went to MIT to get a degree in AI, large language models, and things like that. And then a few years back, I left the gaming industry to help my friend's business expand regions from Central Florida into the Tampa, Sarasota regions of Florida as well. And realized that there was a big demand and need for small businesses to get a lot of the automation and software solutions that the bigger companies have at a price that fits for smaller companies. And so therefore Nimblo was born.
That's amazing. And I mean, you've got a pretty wild background. Like we kind of talked about it before, but I mean, you had United Healthcare, you had Red Dead Redemption 2, World of Warcraft. How did you go from that world into running your own company? Like, what was that process like?
Well, like I said, it's definitely had its share of challenges and differences. It started, like I said, based on to fill a need for friends. And then that need kind of expanded into me realizing like, oh, that person over there needs the same thing and that one needs the same thing. And I was like, wow, there's a high demand for people that need this stuff that just don't have access to it. At the big gaming companies and big healthcare organizations, thinking about automating repetitive task work or repetiting your day-to-day flows, it's a no-brainer. It's a conversation that happens at every table. Whereas in a lot of smaller businesses, it's something that I feel people want to do, but just don't know how to get there. And so I like being able to provide those solutions for them.
That's huge. And then how do you explain that to these companies? Because a lot of them probably don't understand too much of the technical side and, are fairly green with a lot of the new technology, especially with AI and software nowadays. Probably don't know all the ins and outs of it. So how do you explain that to them and, make it very clear of how important it really is?
Yeah, it's kind of a longer conversation that has to happen where you really have to kind of break it down with people on getting into their pain points, like, hey, like what's the repetitive task work that you have at your company? What's something that your staff or yourself does every day of the week? And it's something that has to get done, but it just takes up a lot of man hours.
Hmm.
And then 9 times out of 10, when I hear that task, it's like, oh, you can fix that, not with AI, but with simple, just good old fashioned programming, you know? And so that's kind of where it starts. And from there, then we can get into the more advanced things of how we can help out that company thrive.
Fair enough. And I mean, looking at it from that perspective, I mean, you've built everything from, custom tech stacks to automations, that save companies, thousands a week it takes, two employees a combined 80 hours a week to get a project done. Well, you can do it in a matter of seconds. You talked about having that conversation of really figuring out pain points, seeing exactly what that business needs. What's something that you've seen very commonly as of recently of what they're spending a lot of time on and what their pain points are?
I mean, surprisingly and not surprisingly at the same time, the thing that you hear from most companies is a lot of them are still in Excel. A lot of them are reviewing price sheets. They're reviewing sales reporting that they've had come in. A lot of manual work with, project managers having to get in a task flow, put it into this document and translate it into something else. And all of that stuff is very easy, actual programming code.
Hmm.
To put something together that does that stuff, whether it's creating folders or files or analyzing a spreadsheet or a document or whatever, and then taking that information and ingesting it or doing something automatically. It's one of the easiest wins that I can get for companies normally really quick is whenever they're like, oh,
Hmm.
we have this spreadsheet. Every day it comes in at 5 o'clock and then our team has to review it the following morning. It's like, well, what if that happens while you're gone? And you get in the morning, it's
Exactly.
already been reviewed and you have all the analysis right there. And it's easy to just build a simple piece of software that does it, puts it on a scheduler, and then they just have results.
Fair enough. I mean, actually, walk me through that a little bit more because you told me that there was a client story where you turned a 15-minute per line task into something that takes seconds, right?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the clients I have is they had a task where they, would get in a job, and that job would have hundreds of lines of an Excel. Every individual line of that Excel sheet was a 15-minute task for them to create files and folders and structures and stuff like that after that line. So we wrote code, no AI involved, that basically ingests that Excel document, and then it creates all of that folder structure and stuff like that that was manually being done by a project manager. And it was 15 minutes per line. Normally the things would have a minimum of 100 lines in them. Some would have 400 lines in them. So that cost compounds real quick. You're looking at a week to 2 weeks worth of work for someone that now happens within seconds.
Exactly.
And that project is expanding now. Now we're doing all sorts of other things with it, where we're pulling it into other tools. We're pulling it into different files and systems and stuff like that. So that's eventually going to be something where that one tool right now saves them, $15,000 to $20,000 a week that they
Wow.
run it, and soon it's going to be north of 80,000. So
That's huge.
yeah.
And I mean, obviously, a lot of companies and a lot of people in tech have these massive success stories, right? Of, when you turn something around like that, it must feel good, obviously. But how do you explain to someone that a tailored software solution will save them money without them thinking it's just another expense? Where, a lot of them, in my experience at least, have had to see it to believe it, right?
It's the tough part of kind of my role in my company in general. Is it's something that I know because I've been in this space. I have really big wins under my belt from tech companies, the ones that you mentioned, back when I was at United Healthcare. We built this automation software that was a team of myself and one other engineer. And there were
Hmm.
two of us, and it automated away an entire team's worth of thing. 10 people used to do this task manually, and now it was done by a software that was built by me and one other guy. And now
Fair
someone can
enough.
come in and click a button, and the whole thing is done. You know? And that used to be an entire shift that you would go in for. That originated because I was on that shift, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that manual process every
Yeah.
single week. Like, what if we just write the software, and then it'll be done automatically? Red Dead Redemption, we had the same type of wins where there were several big teams that we would get budget cuts on. This is very common in the game industry. Hey, that project's getting cut. How do you get the same work output with half the people, with a fourth of the people? You
Hmm.
know, and so we'd have to figure out creative solutions for that. So for me to come into businesses, I know I can do this for them. It's like, I know I can save you money. I know I can automate your workflows. It's just in a lot of the smaller business owner spaces, they haven't had those solutions or seen them. So I think it's just harder for them to believe.
Hmm.
And then you also have the cost involved. Whenever you're talking to somebody about like, hey, we're going to automate this stuff, we're going to build software for you, people just see dollar signs. They just go like, oh God, that's going to be expensive. And
Hmm.
so I think that in and of itself lures people away when that's really not the case, at least for my company.
Would you say that you lean towards more of the saving money side for clients rather than the making money side?
Yes, my goal for clients, and it's literally my entire company's business model, is I look at this much more as a vision than I look at this as I'm here to make money. Like I tell other friends and stuff, if I wanted to go make, big six figure bankrolls, I'd go back to the IT industry. I go back to Silicon Valley or stuff like that, and I would just go write software for somebody. And I did it for 20 years and we were just fine.
Exactly.
I kept on doing this after I helped my friend because I saw there was a big need for lots of small business owners that needed tech. They needed to be able to move agilely with AI and with kind of the way the market is shifting, but they needed to do it on their pocketbook terms, knowing that economies are tight, margins are tight. Like, people can't afford to be spending thousands of dollars on tech with their company. So we built it to basically help people out.
That's massive. I love that. That's such a good, it's a good approach. I've always had a warm spot for, people that are able to step away from the financial gain to actually do good things and change or elicit some kind of change. And we even talked about a little bit on the SEO side of things, how you're seeing that there's people are having trouble with it, and you're doing it for basically free. So walk me through what that looks like, and how that influences the whole market.
Yeah, I mean it's literally our thing that we've shifted a lot of the business model in that direction to try to help out people as much as possible, because it's something that has now become kind of a clear writing is on the wall, with updates and algorithms getting changed to be more AI focused and stuff like that. And I was at a convention recently and I audited hundreds of businesses live, like right at their booths, went up, audited their websites, and all of them were just painted in the red and stuff like
Hmm.
that, of like, yeah. And that basically means that, in 12 months, that website's not going to really be relevant as far as Google is concerned anymore. Like they're going to
Exactly.
get blasted by other people. And for a lot of these people, like I said, this is their livelihood. This is like what they do. And so they can't afford that massive drop in leads. And so we literally made a plan that, like, our SEO package we do for people is $500 a month. And that's everything.
Hmm.
We'll redo your website if you need it. That's your SEO if you need it. We've now built automations into it. So we have an inner circle of our people that are on that plan. And all those people get access to all the automations, the tooling, the stuff that we've built for every other company. So
Hmm.
that all those ones I've been mentioning that are like, oh, we saved this company this much money. Yeah, that's all in there. That's all free, as long as you're part of like
Wow.
our group and stuff like that. Because we really just wanted to make it about helping as many people as possible. But as you said, it's surprising that how hard it is to even give free stuff away to people. Where we started this out literally just building people free websites. Like we ran a whole ad for a month of like, hey, click this thing and we'll build it for free. And we did. We had a handful of people come in and we literally just gave them a free website, like start to finish, programmed the thing, shipped it over the fence, and we're like, there you go. Like your business is running. But the amount of people that signed up and then did not do like the one thing we needed to like be able to make their website, which is like, hey, just tell us what you want, surprisingly large.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's crazy to even hear that it's like for $500. You're seeing SEO agencies selling this for like 2 grand a month, right? Like, that's pretty. It says it's pretty average, right? And it's crazy what you guys are doing, and I think it's a very, very good spot to be for everybody. And one thing I want to touch on though is when we talked earlier, you said that AI is often seen as kind of like a magic fix, right? And I mean, we both agree that it isn't, but I mean, what do you wish more business owners understood about its real limitations?
Yeah, I mean, AI is still very much in its infancy, and like any software in its infancy, it's going to have its share of bugs, it's going to have its share of faults. And I mean, I'm sure even the basic user can say, it's like, yeah, you give it a prompt and like, yeah, sometimes it's going to get it right, but sometimes it's going to get it wrong and stuff like that. And so you need to just look at AI as a tool and not look at it as like this magic wizard that's going to come in and it's going to solve all your problems, because it is trained on a data set to do things. And so if what you're trying to do isn't in that data set, then all it's making is guesses. It'd be no
Exactly.
different than if you asked somebody on the street, hey, what do you think I should do about this? And they didn't really know what you were talking about. They'd make a guess at it, but it doesn't mean they're going to be right.
Exactly. It's only as good as what you put into it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then
Fair
and then
enough.
from there too, it's like it's a front end engineer, so it's only making stuff that's directly visible to you and stuff. So it
Hmm.
might make you something that looks really pretty, it might create you a cool image or whatever, but it's missing a lot on the back end of things, which is the stuff for a lot of businesses is actually the more important side,
Hmm.
because that's your security layer, that's where your financial data is, that's where you put yourself at risk of things. And so I met companies that are like, oh, we're good, we use AI for this, that, and the other. And then you go in and you audit their company and there's all sorts of problems that they really don't want to be having. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, like this was all caused by you building something that has back end loopholes in it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's an interesting kind of segue, I guess, because do you think AI should be the first tool that people reach for, or more of kind of like a last resort after,
No,
solid software is in place?
it's a last resort. Like, I mean, there's lots of stuff you can do to build up good automated solutions for things using custom software or tools that have been on the market for a while if you're using a tooling set versus using something that is still in its infancy. I definitely think like AI is going to get there. It's definitely a tool that you should have integrated into your business in the ways where it is the most successful, but it is one of those things where it's like, just talk to somebody that knows the tools and knows how to use them and knows how to integrate with them and stuff like that. So you're not setting yourself up for failure, and you spend your workday trying to figure out how to use this tool and make it work for you
Hmm.
is, just, using something off the shelf that you could have plugged in and played, or talking to somebody that's like, oh yeah, I'll hook that up for you.
Exactly. Fair enough. And I mean, I know you mentioned that you went into that one company and basically audited it. There was a tons of holes in everything that they were doing. Is that a good example of like when you've had to go into a business and clean up a mess that AI actually created? Or
One
was
of
that kind of what they tried to mitigate?
one of several. One of several. Now, often it's becoming a little bit of a repetitive thing now. Whenever I talk to somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, we use this," and I instantly know now there's going to be problems involved with it, And I'm even at a top, very surface level one. A problem I can have for people is, they'll get shown something cool, like, oh look, you can, make this podcast, or you can make this social media thing or whatever using AI, and it'll do that job for you. And they might see it and see how it does an automated thing and be like, wow, that's really cool. But then they don't see the pricing model behind that, where it's like, yeah, but
Hmm.
that one thing, like AI is charging you per word in
Hmm.
that podcast. And so your monthly credits is now gone. And so now
Exactly.
you end up spending a whole lot of money on this one tool. Um, and that's like kind of the hidden cost of it, is a lot of people kind of get lured in by like, oh look what it can do, but don't realize like, yeah, there's a cost for like literally every single word that thing fires out, and based on how smart it is, you pay even more per word. So it's like,
Exactly.
so if you want the AI model that's going to get stuff right, that's going to be a very, very costly thing. Whereas that's where I said, like, software's free. Like,
Hmm.
you write a program, and that's that.
Exactly. Well, speaking of cost, you've talked about how cost pressure is the number one thing that you're seeing right now. We just talked about it a little bit before. How is that shaping the way you design your solutions? Does it take anything away? Does it, if anything, add a little bit more?
I mean, all it did for me, like I said, was it changed my business model. Like I
Hmm.
talked to lots of people that were really getting pressured on costs, like, hey, reduce your costs, hey, bring this stuff down, blah, blah, blah. For me, like I said, it was more about building relationships with people and helping people out than it was about making large profits.
Hmm.
So even on like some of my larger clients that were on one payment schema, like we were writing them software, and it was going to take additional time or additional work on our end than our original timeline. And we didn't say like, hey, we're going to raise your price because it's going to take more time. We actually cut their costs in half. And I
Wow.
said, hey, we know you were paying this before, and we told you it was going to take this long, but this is actually a complex code structure. So we're going to charge you less. Like, and we
Okay.
literally just cut their rate in half and said, you know what, this is going to take more time. That's on us, And that's when we shifted everything to that, like, hey, we're just going to charge $500, and that's everything. Like, whatever you need, like, that's done. Because
Exactly.
we want to help people, and we don't need to be breaking everybody's bank. Nobody has a bunch of money flying around right now. I buy 4 items at the grocery store, and it's like $200 or something like that. So it's like, it's just a fair case of like, we want to help people right now. We don't want anybody feeling like tech has to be an option for their business.
Hmm.
Like, your website or SEO shouldn't be something you have to be like, oh, well, when I have time. Like, that's kind of like the same as like having a phone number or having an internet connection in your house or something. Like, that's your mandatory thing. And so we didn't
Exactly.
want to price it as something people have to be like, oh, well, when we have room, we'll do SEO. No, we wanted it to be like, no, it's affordable for everybody. Like, $500 is nothing, So
Exactly. Exactly. It's true. And I mean, you're staying on my topics in terms of, in terms of like saving money for, companies. I mean, you said that you worked locally and I think continued to as well, just to kind of help out the community, right? But you've saved over $2 million for local companies just this year. What's the fastest or biggest turnaround that you've seen?
what do you mean by turnaround? Like, how fast are we being able to pull stuff off their books?
Yeah, so how like the company turnaround, like how fast have you pulled someone or a company out of the depths of their own creation?
I mean, we've had a few big ones, like the one I mentioned you before, where we've been able to cut. The second the software's deployed, that first week they're using it, they're normally to start saving, tens of thousands of dollars on business hours. We now have a couple that we're starting to spin up right now, unfortunately, in order to cut costs, they had to reduce their headcount.
Hmm.
So they have the people that are remaining there that are just kind of underwater with how much stuff they've had to pick up, and so that's one that we're kind of trying to pedal on pretty quick or whatever to get those
Hmm.
people's jobs automated as quick as possible so they don't have extra workflows. you
Yes.
know Fortunately, I haven't in this industry at least had to go into that company where they were like, hey, can you automate these people's jobs because they're not going to be around anymore.
Hmm.
Because those aren't really the fun ones to do. But we try to save people money normally within the first 30 days. And I
Wow.
normally tell people, like, generally, like, if we can put the right tooling in place like that, like, you'll be able to start saving money in 30 days or less.
That's huge. And I mean, I think the coolest part we kind of talked about earlier too is that you just know right before you kind of get into it. And I kind of asked a little bit on, how people respond to it. They have to see it to believe it. But I mean, when you meet a new potential client, what's the first thing that, you look for that tells you, yeah, I can save the money? Like, is there a certain software that you like to work with more, a different style that you're seeing that you're implementing a little bit more frequently than others?
No, I mean, like I said, for me, really, it's just about getting to know somebody else's business. And everybody, regardless of what job you have, this will resonate with any viewer that's listening. You have something at your job that you don't like to do, that you have to do every day, and it takes you a lot of time to get it done. And the second I hear that, I instantly know, like, okay, I can save you money and I can save you a headache, which is like even better, like, because I can just make that thing disappear.
Exactly. So it's instant for you.
Yeah.
It comes in pretty quick.
And I've had the flip side. I've had some people where I get on the phone to, audit their website or their company or whatever. And I say, hey, you know what? You're doing everything right. There is not a dime I can save you. Like, good job. If you ever need us in the future, we're here, but we're not going to work together because,
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to put you on a retainer. I'm not going to bring you into like my automation circle or stuff like that. If there's nothing I can do to help you, if you're doing everything right, then good on you, and
Exactly.
stuff like that. Like, I'd rather save my staff's headcount and stuff like that for people that need it.
Exactly. That's a good point to make actually, because I mean, it kind of ties into the next thing, but like when you meet a business owner who's hesitant to invest in any form of technology, what's usually going on behind the scenes when you do take a look?
I mean, sadly, this is, I'd say, the majority. I'd say if there were 10 business owners listening right now, 9 out of 10 are hesitant. And I think it's twofold. I think number one is they've been burned by a website guy or an SEO guy that said, like, hey, we're going to get you rankings. We're going to do X, Y, or Z for you. They paid thousands of dollars for months and months and months and didn't see anything different
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I think number one, you have this hesitancy of just them burned in the past. It's why I can't give stuff away for free. Literally, it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Everybody thinks that if you're in the tech space online, it's some kind of a thing. And
Hmm.
so it's unfortunate, but it's just a case of, like, your tech is mandatory for your business. It is what it is. Like, it can't be the afterthought. And so sometimes it is just a proof of, like, having to go in there and show people, like, what's going on. Like, it's the big one that, like, we're doing right now is we audit anybody's website and their entire business, like, for free on like a 15-minute
Hmm.
call. We get on there, we pull it up, we show it all to them live. This is what's going on the back of your site. This is where you stand. And this is where you realistically can get to, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And this is what you can make disappear in the meantime. And normally, once you start showing people the cold hard numbers, you can kind of get some throughput on it, but you still have a lot of skepticism to overcome in that space. And it's just unfortunate because it's, like I said, you try to help people, and sometimes it's you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink situations.
Fair enough. And I mean, it is a tough situation. Honestly, I have a couple more questions. I want to talk about that afterwards. But one thing I really like to ask is if tomorrow you woke up and Nimblo could only solve one recurring problem you keep seeing, which one would you choose to fix permanently? You'd be
That's a
surprised
tough
how
one.
often we get that reaction.
Yeah, it's a tough one because there's a lot of recurring problems that I see come up or whatever that I would love to be able to solve for people.
Hmm.
I think and this is just such a weird one, is the number one problem I would love to be able to solve for people is probably, I'm going to just air it on that website issue, just
Hmm.
because your web, and I put them together, your web and SEO, because they're linked, they're one and the same. It is your footprint that is to your business right now. You know, back in the day, you had door to door people or digital
Hmm.
or like mailers that went out to your mailbox. Like nowadays, if you don't have a website, like you're toast. Like even when
Exactly.
people get like a word of mouth review of like, hey, I heard this place is great. The first thing people do is they turn around, they go Google it to see what other people are saying or to see what they're about or stuff like that. And so if you're
Hmm.
not there, if you don't have any presence, if I have to hunt for you online, like people just leave. And
Exactly.
it's a market that has been tainted so hard by people that either overcharge or say they can do a thing that they can't do or they make false promises, that now you have a whole lot of business owners that are just skeptical.
Hmm.
And now that we're making this shift to an AI first algorithm, you have a lot of businesses that are just going to be out of luck. And
True.
there's, you know, it's a problem that I try to beat home for people, but it's something that, like I said, you can only do so much. So if I could make one disappear, it would be just remove that skepticism and help people out. So
Fair enough. And I think a big part of that as well is like how we talked about and how you've said that marketing kind of feels like a bit of a mystery because you couldn't give stuff away for free. But I mean, what's worked surprisingly well for you in terms of marketing, if you know anything?
for me, the only marketing thing that works well is just talking to people face to face and really walking them through what's going on. Like
Hmm.
when I can sit, talk to somebody, show them some actual numbers, show them a tool, show them a thing. That's what works well for me. I have not figured out any of that marketing space of like, you know, I can throw money in an ad online and it sticks or stuff like that, you know, like I can get people to sign up to something, but getting people to follow through from there is harder than not. And like I said, I think there's just a lot of online skepticism there, which is justified. It's not that it's not. There is
Hmm.
a lot of scammy offers out there, but it's just sad when you're genuinely trying to help people and you can't do it.
Exactly. Well, that's an interesting kind of area too, because I mean, how much of your client base comes from in-person networking versus online?
A vast majority, I'd say probably 90% is all people that I've met personally, talked to at a convention, talked to at a networking meeting, or has been passed over to me from somebody else where they've been like,
Hmm.
oh, we worked with this guy. He saved us a lot of money and he's great. The one that I always boast though is, like I said, we have a 100% client retention.
Exactly.
We have had a single person that is once they're in our group of people, and we do turn people away. I know sometimes people see like, oh, we only take this many people, and they're like, oh, that's a marketing play. No, we genuinely take that many people because I can only help so many people at once. Like, you know,
Um,
because the quality over quantity is a big thing for me. Like, I'm not going to take you
mhm.
on if like I feel like I cannot give a good service to people and I can't actually help you out. Then no, I don't want people spending money and just being like another like web service or something like that where they're like, oh, like I'm just throwing money to avoid nothing's happening. Like,
Mhm.
no, I'm big on giving reports and giving updates and being like, hey, look, it's moved. We're here. We're here. We're here. Like, this is what we're working on. This is where it's going. And, you know, and so I can only do so many at one time.
It's fair enough. And I mean, I guess in terms of having that said, what's one change you think that would make your lead generation a lot easier?
Make it easier. If I had one change that would make it easier, then I would probably already be doing it. Because, like I said, my biggest problem is just skepticism. I think people
Yeah.
see, especially how much we offer it, the price point we offer it for, and they're just like, oh, like, why is it that price? And it's like, because I don't need to make tons of money off this. Like, you know,
Hmm.
I'm just here to help out as many businesses as I can. Like it's a numbers thing for us. Is we've helped in the hundreds now. Like now it's like, all right, cool. Now I want to help in the thousands. You know, like
Yeah.
so.
Fair enough. And then I guess that moving into like ahead, I won't grill you with the marketing stuff, but I know from my background and some of the people that listen, we love to hear the marketing stuff. But I guess what's next for you and Nimblo over the next, I like to say 12 months because it's a happy medium.
Like I said, our big thing right now is we've made that pivot towards trying to push more people into the web SEO layer, and then we've just started including automations in that for free. Whereas we still have a couple high ticket clients where we're building entire softwares, and I'm talking like full blown CRMs or stuff like that from
Hmm.
the ground up for people. And I love doing those projects, but it's like those ones are a lot more conversation and stuff to pick up, and seeing that writing on the wall coming out of conferences and stuff like that where I'm like, okay, people are on a clock to actually get this tech stack on the back end of their company fixed. And so many people are like, oh, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. Or like, we have a guy. And then I'm like, well, you have a guy and I'm auditing you right now and you're bad. Like, you know?
Exactly.
And so it's like trying to get that solved for as many people as I can, knowing that that's on a timer is my number one.
Hmm. Of course. And then, like, last little bit, if you had to give one piece of advice to a business owner who feels like they're, just surviving, what would it be?
I mean, if I'm only giving one piece and it's a business owner that's just surviving, I'm shameless plugging myself, is head on over to nimblo.ai dash free little minus sign audit. Get the free audit and let us get into your weeds and tell you where you're dropping leads and how we can save you money right now. Because we,
Amazing.
on average, just after people come out of our first audit and cleanup or whatever, normally within 30 to 60 days, they're picking up on average, 10 to 30 extra leads each month, you
It's
know?
amazing.
And so it's like, if you're just surviving, like put some time into the areas that matters, tech automation, save yourself money and get more leads coming in at the same time.
That's massive. And sorry, just say one more time to reiterate, where can people find you if they're looking for anything about you or about Nimblo?
I mean, our main website is just nimblo.ai or whatever. And then I think the free audit is right there on the front page or whatever. But otherwise, nimblo.ai / free minus sign audit. And just book the time on the calendar. All you have to do is your email, your website, and then book a time. It's literally my calendar. I'll sit down with you for 15 minutes personally. I don't have any one of my people do this. I do this all myself. And I will talk to you one-on-one and walk you through your pain points, where they are, how to fix them, and I'll give you actionable steps to fix it yourself. And if you want us to do it, we'll happily do it for you. So
That's wonderful. Well, James, this has been awesome. I think a lot of people listening are going to realize just how much time, money, and energy they're, bleeding without even knowing it, and how big of a impact the right systems can have. So I want to thank you again for coming on. I appreciate your time. And for myself and everyone listening, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, thank you as well. It's been great being here.
Amazing. And everyone listening, just remember this is dropping on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever you get your podcasts. If you want to see clips, go to Instagram, Facebook, and we're working on the TikTok right now. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll be across all the platforms very soon. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.